Hello YouTube, this is High Radical. I've been working on a response to Big Evasive. I really am enjoying and getting a lot out of our dialogue. One thing about it is I'm putting so much into it that it's taken me a while to put together a single video or video series to respond to him. I'm in the process of it. This video is kind of a break in the middle. I was just kind of taking a break and looking around YouTube and looking on my subscribe stuff, and noticed Shazoolo's one of his recent videos. I hadn't noticed it earlier. I think it takes the subscribing thing a while to have everything register, but sometimes if you don't go sweep through it several times, you miss stuff. But he has this video titled Mormons and J-Dubs. Why not so critical of each other? And at the end of it, he kind of implies that there might be some connection behind them. That's not the case, I can assure you. In fact, I'd tell you, if there was any one single group while I was serving my LDS mission that was most ready to engage us in an antipathetic way, to be contrarian, and to any group that was ready to get out the Bibles with us as Mormons, it was the Jehovah's Witnesses. And in fact, I think there's a lot of things behind the reasons why. I mean, you cycled through a bunch of websites, Carm and all the others, and I think some of it can be tied back to the views we have. At least I can speak for Mormons. I've looked a little bit into Jehovah's Witnesses. I can't say I'm an expert on their faith. I talked to a lot of them on my mission. I got some from that. I have done some looking into them since my mission, and actually I was kind of looking into going into one of their Kingdom Halls at some point, but I haven't gotten there yet. But I think it has some ties to something that happened early on in Utah. Not Jehovah's Witnesses and them, but the phenomena you're seeing. When the Saints got here to Utah and they had gotten somewhat established, or it might have even been earlier than that, there were significant groups of really dedicated, zealous Christians that came in to the Utah mission to convert us from our heathen and pagan ways. And one of the ways they sought to kind of build a relationship of trust and establish a rapport with the Saints was that they offered to teach our children, to provide free teachers and teach an education to our children. And this was an attempt to kind of get an in, and to some degree with the rising generation. And Brigham Young actually encouraged it, and he was all for it. In fact, he kind of, the statements I've read seem almost as though he kind of laughs at the idea that they would make converts out of the Saints' children by being their teachers. And so he welcomes the free education that they offer as a mission and their act of charity. And I think it kind of goes to some fundamentals about, at least again I'm speaking for Mormons, that our faith rises or falls on our personal testimonies. If people will claim different things, but really it comes down to whether or not they put merit into like their conversion experience, whether or not they believe Joseph really saw God, if they believe that the Spirit has told them of the truthfulness of the Book of Mormon. So I think a lot of that has a bit of a disconnect. We don't have anything really set up to attack any faith. we do emphasize history. We emphasize the fact that the church fell away, that the original church fell away, but we don't really do much in the way of, especially not our church organization. There's no really dedicated things to any particular religious sect. There's been some commentary. I'm sure you've seen Bruce R. McConkie's mentionings of the Catholic Church and the whole controversy of Mother of Harlots kind of thing, and but then there's also I believe McConkie is always one that you can have fun with, but he kind of he took a swipe and kind of classed Jehovah's Witnesses as a kind of counterfeit movement that was specifically designed. Now again, this is Bruce R. McConkie, this isn't LDS doctrine, but it was of his opinion that the Jehovah's Witnesses were designed by the adversary to so mimic us so as to turn people off to us. And I have to say, on my mission, we saw a lot of evidence for that opinion, for that theory, because where I was serving, there was a significant contingent of Catholics, and they all had este hogar es católico, no aceptamos propaganda de protestante o de ninguna otra secta. This home is Catholic. We don't accept propaganda from any Protestants or any other sect. And from what I understood, what understanding I'd gotten both from these Catholics and from other people that I talked to, was that a lot of these signs for the doors of these Catholics became really popular after the Jehovah's Witnesses started barraging them, and they'd get into their homes and they'd Bible bash with them, and it really turned a lot of people off to taking in the missionaries. And I can tell you from all the times I was out proselytizing, there's countless times we get people, yelling at us and cursing us out as J-dubs and stupid Jehovah's Witnesses, and usually there was a lot of profanities mixed in with it, but you'd have people come up to you and honk and make fun of you on Easter or Christmas, thinking that you didn't celebrate it because you were Jehovah's Witness. That wasn't the case now. It was an interesting dynamic between Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses. Another thing that was really interesting when I was on my mission was we would, oftentimes we'd have these massive, apartment complexes, and you'd track them out. And one companionship of 2 people, you could be working 70 hours a week, and depending on how things went, you could spend a week, 2 weeks, sometimes even 3 weeks if they were big, trying to get through and tracked out a whole apartment complex. And boy, it was kind of crazy, because it was almost like they knew where we were at, or they just canvassed things really often. I know there were some areas in our mission where people claimed that they canvassed every Saturday morning, but so many times we'd get in there, and every Saturday morning it seemed we would run into them, and they would just, a complex we were in the middle of tracking out, they would cover in a couple hours with a whole big group. And anyway, I had a few good interactions with some Jehovah's Witnesses, and I know that there's some people in that faith that are really. I have to say though, when I got to the point, I believe, on my mission, when I could usually pick out what influences, by the way people talk to you, by the phraseology they used, by the things they'd adopted, you could kind of tell what percentage of what influence they got from everywhere. I think the most pronounced one I saw were those things of Jehovah's Witnesses, and they were oftentimes the most standardized, and people would really grab onto certain Jehovah's Witness ideas, even if they never accepted them. And I thought it was kind of interesting how effective they were in partially convincing people of certain things, even if they didn't convert them all the way. But